Like I woke up one day, no headache, no lower back pain, no nausea. I was like, hold on a second. What's going on? Yeah. Ever since that point, if I smell a hint of stress, I am gone. I've realized in this life, you have to act quick when you have an idea. Just kind of like reverse engineering. I figured out how to braid. So I taught myself how to braid from about the age of 5. Pretty much I had the idea. Then the following week, I bought the domain.
You are beautiful. You are powerful. You are worthy. Your crown is your glory.
Hey beautiful, welcome back to the Kiya Convos podcast. I'm your host, Amoah, and this is a space for all things self-care, wellness, and empowerment. Today, I am so excited for our guest. We have the absolutely gorgeous Yomi. Hey.
Thank you. Hey.
How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. You look amazing. I'm loving the fit. I'm loving everything. And I can't wait to get into this conversation.
Same.
I love to kick off just asking the guests to let us know, for anyone that's new to you, who you are, what you do, and your journey, I guess, prior to what you are doing now. I'm going to let you fill everyone in.
Okay, all right. So I'm Yomi. Hi, everyone. I'm the founder of the Wig Bar London, and we basically are a sustainable beauty brand. I guess we'll talk about that more later. But prior to starting the Wig Bar London, I was in corporate.
Okay.
So on the creative side though, so advertising and marketing. So I was in the industry for nearly 15 years before I decided to leave my 9 to 5 and basically run my business full time. And so I've been doing that for nearly 5 years now, and I am a solo founder. So I'm just thinking about the journey of being a founder. It's been interesting, but it's also been really worthwhile. I've enjoyed it. I would also say I'm someone who is hair obsessed. Like I'm a proper hair enthusiast. I'm also a product junkie. I don't know where it came from, to be honest, but I've always been passionate about hair. Like one of my earliest memories was being at my childminders, because basically when I wasn't born here, I came here when I was 4 years old.
Okay.
So my mum was like working all the jobs, and so she would leave me with the childminders for like 2 weeks at a time. And I remember entering my room, and I remember thinking, wow, this room is so empty. There was just one brown box in the corner, and it was just full of toys. So when everyone left and I was in the room by myself, I was like, oh, what's in the box? And then there was like a doll, and it had such an interesting hairstyle. Didn't know what it was at the time, but I pulled it out of the box, and I was just like, I wonder how this was done. And just through kind of like reverse engineering, I figured out how to braid. So I taught myself how to braid from about the age of 5.
Oh, wow.
So then when I saw my mum again, I was just like, oh, mum, I want like these dolls with long hair. And she bought me the dolls. And literally each doll had a different hairstyle every week. So one would have like single plaits, then another one would have cameras, and another one would have like Dutch braids. And it just started from there. And no one in my family is interested in hair or knows how to do hair. So I didn't learn it from them. My mum up to today still doesn't know how to braid. So I didn't learn it from her. So I know it's just something that I've developed a love for from a young age, and it's just stayed with me ever since then. So to be honest, I don't think any of my family are surprised that I've gone into the hair business, because they're just like, oh, okay, that makes sense. That tracks. So
you were like the cousin that did everyone's hair, and
girl, I was the family hairdresser for the longest time, not getting paid, but doing all the hours of work. So I would be braiding my mum's hair from about 8 years old.
Oh, wow.
I'd be doing like single plaits, and to the point where she'd be like, she'd be booking her next appointment. And I'm just like, oh, I am a child. But so that's a bit about my journey.
You mentioned that you moved to the UK when you were 4. Where were you born?
Nigeria.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I came here, I didn't speak any English. So it's weird, because even sometimes up till now, the way I pronounce certain things, because I feel like as a child, because you're around your parent a lot, so you pick up their way of speaking and their way of pronouncing stuff. So like there's certain sayings that, like certain English sayings that sometimes in my mind I'm still like, but do they say it like that? Is that how it's said? I still question myself up until now. And my mum didn't speak any Yoruba to me when when we came here. So yeah, I couldn't speak, English, could only speak Yoruba. She wanted me to learn English.
Okay, sure.
So she thought that if she confused me with Yoruba, then it would hinder my English kind of thing. Yeah. But in the process, I forgot how to speak my own language. Oh, so wow. I understand it, but I can't speak it.
Okay.
So I really should invest in trying to speak it, but I'm almost like, is it too late? Because when I go back home and I try and pronounce certain words, the way my family cackles, I'm like, oh, there's just certain, the way they pronounce stuff, I just don't, the way my mouth moves, it's just, and then it makes me feel a type of way. So then it kind of like makes me feel like, okay, I won't try as much to speak it. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm trying to get my son to speak it. So I said to my mum that when you have him at home, speak as much Yoruba as possible.
Okay, sure, yeah.
So he's 8, so I think that's the perfect age where you can start picking stuff up. And fingers crossed.
Yeah. You're not too late. You can do anything at any age. It just takes longer.
It does. I feel like my brain is old now, and it's just like it's not staying in. And like, so I have Duolingo, and I'm learning all the languages, but they don't have Yoruba. They don't have all the languages like that I would be interested in learning, apart from the basics like French and doing a bit of Japanese. But I need to find a way of learning Yoruba. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same. My husband's Ghanaian. He speaks Chui and Ga. I know neither. And then I'm like, I really want to learn because we plan to go to Ghana a lot more frequently. And I don't always want to be the one that's like, oh no, speak English. I'm like,
exactly. No. And then you want to know what they're saying as well.
I want to know what they're saying.
Do you know what I mean? So you're just like, because sometimes I'm like, well, luckily I understand. So when I'm in Nigeria, if anyone's saying anything about me or, I can pick up on it. And they usually don't think that I understand. So they're always surprised, even if I respond in English. So then they stay on their P's and Q's. So they know they can't be saying rubbish around you.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I can't necessarily understand, but I can always follow the conversation. So I can kind of gather what they're speaking about. Right. Just from the odd word here and there. So,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So where are you from?
I'm Jamaican.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, both my parents are Jamaican. So even when you were saying about pronouncing certain things, I remember when I first met my husband, I was 21. And that's when he was like, he showed me a picture of aloe vera. And I was like, oh, that's single Bible. He's like, no, it's aloe vera. I was like, oh. And that's when I realized aloe vera is called aloe vera, not single Bible. Because in Jamaica, they call it.
Really? Why do they call it that? Where does that name come from?
I need to ask my dad.
But, that's interesting.
Yeah. Luckily, I pronounce cucumber because he pronounces it cucumber. So, there's a lot of things.
Those little things. Yeah, it's so interesting. It's funny, though. Like, my mum, she's been here a long time. Obviously, she still has the accent. So the way she'll pronounce certain things, not even pronounce, the words she uses to describe certain things. I'm always like, oh, Mum, like I'll pick her up on certain stuff. And she's like, oh, that's just the way that I say it.
Yeah.
But it's just interesting because I've picked up on those things. So when I say certain things, people are like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Like, so, but yeah.
Yeah. Perfect. So you mentioned your childhood. That's when you first developed your passion for hair.
Yeah.
So what happened, I guess, teenage, formative years? Were you still doing hair or had you just focused on, making steps towards your corporate career?
It's interesting because I grew up in a Nigerian household, I kind of knew that my career options were limited because it's sad to say, but they don't really value the creative field that much. Anything in the creative space, anything in the art space.
I feel like it's changing.
It is changing now, but definitely when I was growing up, especially the type of dad that I had as well, because he was very academic.
Okay.
He was commissioner of police, so he's like well respected.
Yeah.
So initially when I was like, oh, I want to be a doctor, and he was like, oh yeah, that's great. And I studied all the right subjects and I got really, really good grades, but then I didn't end up going down that route. I ended up going down the creative route, and I knew he was disappointed.
Okay, sure.
But at the same time, it's kind of like you have to do what feels right for you.
Yeah.
And I just felt like that felt right for me. I've been a creative person from as far back as I can remember. And in terms of hair and the way like my passion kind of grew, even during secondary school, I remember I would save up my lunch money just to go to the hair shop, because we had a massive hair shop not far from my secondary school, and I would go there pretty much every day after school, and I would just browse the aisles. I would like buy the hair magazines. I was so into it. I don't know what it is. I think it was probably like an escapism for me, and I loved seeing all the different styles. And like this was like late 90s, early 2000s, so like the styles then was just so creative. And I would replicate those styles on myself and on like, you know, maybe members of family, and I would practice. But I didn't really have the want to be a hairdresser because I think I knew that I wanted a bit more freedom with what I was doing in terms of like being creative. So if I was going to go down the hair route, I would rather be a session hairstylist, because there's a bit more creative freedom in that space. Whereas being a hairdresser, it's like you basically just have to do what the customer wants, and it might just be like a reset or just like a maintenance, you know, thing, as opposed to, oh, let's dye your hair burgundy, let's add like, you know, bantu knots, let's do da. And that part of hairstyling I love. But then to get into like session hairstyling, I was just like, no, I don't think that I love it enough to take that path. So I stuck to advertising. And yeah, that's kind of like where my career took me. And that allowed me to still be creative somewhat. And then on the side, I would still be doing hair. So I basically, in my, I think, late 20s, I was, you know, doing my hair all different kind of ways. And I'm trying to think whether to tell this story or not, because it's quite long. So I'm like, do I tell this story or do I? Okay, let me think.
I think you can tell it, because
I can tell it.
I feel like, yeah.
Okay. So because I'm trying to kind of tell you the origins of what kind of led me into wigs.
Yes, please.
So basically what had happened was I was changing my hair a lot, and I traveled to Ghana, and I had like a sew-in. So in Ghana, I decided again to change my hair, even though I had changed my hair for that holiday. But then I wanted to change my hair again. So I went to the hair salon, and as she was taking out the braids from the sew-in, there was like a big bald patch on my head, which wasn't there before. So I was just like, oh my God. So I got back to the hotel and I just started crying, because I was like, I didn't know if it was the beginning of something. I didn't know what it was. And so after that, I just said, do you know what? Maybe it was the sewing, maybe it was tension, but I wasn't sure. So I decided to cut my hair, start again. So I had a pixie for a while, but I got bored of the pixie. So after a couple of weeks, I was like, there's only so much I can do, and there's only so many styles I can do. So I was like, what is an alternative that I can, like, what's an alternative style that I can do that still allows me creativity and flexibility? So I found wigs. And then I was just like, okay, this makes sense. And then I started wearing wigs. But to get to that point, I basically, so let me fill in another gap. So I was at a video shoot behind the scenes, and one of the models was wearing, like, she had really nice hair. And I went up to her and I was like, oh my God, your hair's amazing. And she said it was a wig. And I was like, no way is that a wig. And she was like, yeah. And she just lifted it up. And I was just like, oh my God, okay. So where'd you get the hair from? Who made the wig for you? So she gave me all the details, but this person lived really far. So I bought the bundles, and then I was going to drop it off to this lady. But in the end, I was just like, she lives too far. Let me see if I can make this wig myself. So I did a quick search on Google. There wasn't much there, but I found something, made the wig, wore the wig, loved the wig. And then, you know, I didn't think anything of it past there. Now, then my friends see me and they're like, oh my God, your hair's amazing. So then I'm like, do the same thing. It's a wig, lift it up. And they're like, oh my God, I want one. And then her friend sees her and then says the same thing. And then she's like, oh, my friend made it. So then she's like, oh, my friend wants you to make her a wig. And I was like, cool. And she was like, oh, she's willing to pay you. And I was like, oh, cool. Because then I was working a 9 to 5 in advertising. So I didn't even think to ask for payment. I was just going to do it for free. But then when she was just like, oh, she's going to pay you, I said, okay, all right. So then, and that's how it started. Word of mouth. And then I just started making wigs on the side whilst so I'll be working, doing my 9 to 5, then I'll meet up with a client. They'll give me their bundles. I'll make the wig. Then I'll, meet up with them again a few days later, hand them over the wig. I was like, doing all of this. And, it started that way. And so I was doing that for quite a while. And then how I started the Wig Bar London, I know you haven't asked me this question yet, but kind of like ties in, was basically I was just on the sofa one day and I just thought wigs are becoming more mainstream. They're becoming more popular, but who's helping people on the journey figure stuff out? Because I know when I started wearing wigs, I didn't really have any guidance, support, and I just felt a lot of confusion. I just had trial and error, basically. And I thought all the new people starting their wig journey probably feel the same way I felt. So then I was just like, I'm going to create a brand that offers the support and the guidance that I didn't have when I first started wearing wigs. So then I created the Wig Bar London. And that's how it started. So that's a really long-winded way of saying
it's perfect.
my story.
It wasn't even too long. It was the journey, which we love to hear all the time. I'm going to take you back a couple of steps. So you were working your 9 to 5 and then you were making wigs on the side, growing that, accidentally on purpose. Yeah. So what point were you at with that when you thought about starting a Wig Bar London? Did you have an active customer base at that time?
So I did have a customer base.
Yeah.
I decided probably like a year and a half before I started the Wig Bar London, I decided to stop doing that.
Okay.
Because there was a lot of stuff happening personally for me, which meant that like I just didn't have the capacity to carry on doing it. So when I started the Wig Bar, I wasn't really in the wig industry anymore like that.
Okay, sure.
So it's almost like another fresh idea for me. So even though I had links to the wig industry, I wasn't currently in the wig industry. I was focusing more on the job that I had on at the time, which I really, really loved. And obviously being a mum and stuff, because my son was still young at that time.
Okay.
So yeah.
So what was it like once you decided, okay, I'm going to start this business? What did that journey look like?
So it was weird because I've realized in this life, you have to act quick when you have an idea, because you will talk yourself out of it. As soon as like self-doubt creeps in, next thing you know, you're like, oh, actually, do you know what? Maybe that's not such a good idea. Oh, it might be too hard, or oh, there's someone else already doing it. Yeah. But pretty much I had the idea. Then the following week, I bought the domain. I set up the Instagram. I basically registered it on Company's House. I trademarked it. I did all the things that I needed to do. So once all those things are done, it's almost like, okay, now you just feel, now you have to do it because you spent your money. And that's how the journey started. And I literally learned as I went along. And I feel like sometimes when people are starting things, they feel like they have to know everything at once. And I've realized that a lot of the time you're going to learn as you go, and that's okay. Maybe you don't have a business plan or thought out, or maybe you don't have your mission statement ready or your value proposition or whatever it is. But sometimes just start and all those other things will come. Yeah. And that's actually okay too.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. I always say to people as well, the same, just start. And
just start it.
You'll work it out. We all don't really know what we're doing.
Listen,
just trying.
Even when I worked in corporate, I realized even them, they don't really know what they're doing. We're all in the same boat. It's just some people are better at pretending than others. That's it.
Yeah, definitely. And for those that are new to you, explain exactly what the Wig Bar London is and what you do.
Sure. So the Wig Bar London, basically, we provide repair and care solutions for people who wear wigs and hair extensions. So that could be anything from a lace replacement, so a repair service, to like a revamp. So that would be like a wash, treatment and style. Also, we provide color services as well. So basically, like the way I explain it is like when you buy a wig from anywhere, anything that you want done to the wig, we can do.
Yeah.
So if you get a wig and you're like, do you know what? I don't really like the way they colored it. I don't feel like it suits me. And maybe you went back to the wig maker or the wig company and said, oh, I don't really like this wig. Can I, get a refund or exchange it? And they're like, no. And now you're stuck with the wig. You can come to us and be like, do you know, I wanted it more ash, or I wanted it more this, that. And then we will work with you. You'll send us photos and we'll work together to co-create what you actually wanted.
Yeah.
So I think of us like a hair bestie.
Okay.
So on top of obviously carrying out those services, we also educate as well. So we teach our customers to basically make the best out of what they have. So we really, one of our kind of like core values is teaching about repurposing, renewing, rather than throwing away.
Yeah.
Because that could be quite wasteful. The wig industry in itself is very wasteful. Because if you think of how mainstream it's become now and how many new people are starting their wig journey, what happens to the wigs that, people buy and then for whatever reason they're like, oh, it's not really looking the way it did when I first bought it. What do they do with those wigs that they spend money on? And I feel like especially wigs that are bought at the lower end of the kind of like pricing. So wigs that are cheaper tend to be disposed more than wigs that are more expensive. Because if you spent £2,000 to £3,000 on a wig, you're less likely to throw it away if there's an issue with it. You're going to find a way to fix it. So it's just educating customers about that. Like throwing it in the bin shouldn't be your first thought. Or giving up on it, because it's more the giving up thing. I feel like customers definitely go to first. They're like, they're like, oh, like I've tried this and I've tried that. It's not working. So when they bring the wig into us, and I'm like, but have you tried doing it this way? Because sometimes it's technique.
Okay,
it's the technique first over the products you use. So have you tried doing this? And they're like, oh no, I haven't. And then when we get the wig and we work on it, and then they get it back and they're like, is this the same wig? And I'm like, it's the same wig. And then I'm like, yeah, we did a good job. Because they don't even feel like that is not the wig that I sent you. Because I've tried everything and I thought this wig was gone forever. And then when they get it back and it's revived and it's bouncy and it's flowing, and then they're like, okay, cool. And then you've got them now. Like that's a returning customer. And a lot of our customers we've had since 2019 when we started.
Oh, wow.
So they've been with us since the beginning.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you know how it is when you find a good hairdresser.
You're not going anywhere.
Yeah, you stick to your hairdresser, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same with our customers. Once they found, the service that they like, and they like things done a certain way, they like the way we interact with them, because it's almost like we're friends.
Yeah.
They love that, so it keeps them coming back.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I imagine your background in marketing, advertising has really helped with growing the brand, getting brand awareness.
Yes, it definitely has. I have relied more on organic growth though, I'll be honest. I have tried like paid ads and stuff like that, and it just hasn't really worked the same. Maybe I'm not doing it properly, I don't know. But organic growth has definitely worked more for us. So because I have that background, I know that SEO is really, really important.
Yes, yeah.
So when the brand first started, I knew I had to get the articles and the blogs on point.
Yeah.
And I had to get in there first, so that when people search for certain terms, we would come up as number one.
Yeah.
It does take a while. It took about 6 months for it to start working, but it still serves us till today.
Yeah.
And I think because I've been a solo founder for so long, and because I've been bootstrapping as well, so it basically meant that I had to be super resourceful.
Yeah, definitely.
So I had to wear so many hats and I had to learn how to do so many things. And there were moments of frustration, don't get me wrong, but I think I've learned more now running a business than I have in the nearly 15 years that I was in marketing and advertising.
Oh, wow.
Because I'm a doing person. I learn from doing. And when I do the thing, my brain just retains the knowledge, all the skills, everything. Whereas when I was in the industry prior, marketing and advertising, because there were people already in those roles, there was only so much you can
just
do.
fulfilling your task.
Yeah, I was just fulfilling my tasks. But yes, I would know a bit about what every person was doing, but not in depth enough to do it myself.
Sure, yeah.
Whereas running my own business gave me that experience.
You have
Listen,
from the ground up.
I was everything in the business. So yeah, it taught me a lot.
Are you doing the Wig Bar London full time now? Or
Yeah,
still? Oh, okay.
Full time. I've been doing it full time for nearly 5 years.
Oh wow!
Because I left my previous job end of 2019. So I started doing it full time 2020.
Oh, okay.
And then COVID hit.
COVID, yeah.
Yeah.
How did that affect you?
Oh my God. So it affected the mailing system, which we rely heavily on.
Sure, yeah.
And that was before we had a studio space. So that was how customers would get their wigs into us, but that wasn't working. So we weren't getting anything in, because customers also didn't even trust the mailing system when it did start working. They were like, oh, but are we going to go back into lockdown? No one was trusting anything.
Yeah.
So for a period of time, we weren't doing anything. We weren't getting any orders, nothing. But the interesting thing is that those customers just like, they rode it out with us and they waited. And then as soon as they felt comfortable sending their wigs in again, as soon as they trusted the mailing system again, they started sending their wigs through. And then we just picked up exactly where we left off. Yeah, sure. So it didn't affect us too bad. And especially during the time where all the hair salons were closed, we were still able to function when the mailing was back up. Yeah, when the mailing was back up, we were able to function prior to the hairdressers opening. Yeah. So it was like, yeah, we benefited just a tiny bit from that moment when we were basically the only option if you wanted to get your hair done and you wore wigs.
Do you have a team now that you work with?
Yeah, so it's a very small team. I have freelancers that work for me on the repair side. So they carry out all the repairs, the ventilations and stuff like that. But the team is very small and I am looking to expand. But currently, as it stands, it's me and 2 other girls.
Okay. Yeah. Perfect. What's it like being a leader, mother, just business owner? How do you navigate that?
It's been interesting. I feel like I found more balance now than when I first started. I think when I first started, because it's your baby, you're pouring so much of yourself into it. And then you don't even realize when you start losing yourself and you start approaching burnout.
Yes.
So for me now, I find managing the team and everything quite easy because everyone knows what they're doing. And I think when you find good people to work for you, they don't make your job harder, they make it easier. And I think now because my son is older now and he's a little more independent and he also understands what I do and everything like that, it's easier than it was definitely a few years back. And I've learned to prioritize self-care.
Sure.
100%.
What does that look like for you?
So solitude, one. Okay, I've learned not to feel guilty about needing my own space and giving myself time to think and feel. And I think that as an only child as well, who grew up in their own space a lot, I've realized that that's definitely what brings out the best in me. Okay. And it allows me to pour into myself. Also body care. So I like spas, massages. I'm really into essential oils, a hot bath, and also firm boundaries. So firm boundaries, that's one that I've definitely added this year. And until I added that, I didn't realize how loose my boundaries were before. Because like when I started to understand what boundaries are, I was like, wow, I was really flip-flopping with my boundaries. And it made sense why certain things would happen, or I felt a certain way after interacting with people. Because I'm like, you're not staying true to yourself, number one. And then you're not keeping your boundaries firm. Yeah. And I feel like when you have firm boundaries, you can't be afraid to lose people because you have to prioritize yourself. I'm sorry. Because if you don't prioritize yourself and your mental health, it's like everything starts falling apart.
Yes. Yeah.
Very easily and very, very quickly. So yeah, I would say that those are the key things that, that's what self-care means to me, basically.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I've spoken to a few business owners that are also mothers. I'm obviously a business owner and I'm a mother, and it's something that burnout keeps coming, and I think it's just wearing so many hats.
That's what it is.
So you're thinking about the business, you have a team, so you're thinking about the team, you have a child, you're thinking about, and it's like, when do you have the time to prioritize yourself?
Exactly.
So it's really good that you've identified that and you prioritize yourself when you can. Yeah.
I around like 2014, I went through like a really hard time when it came to like my health and stuff. And it made me realize that I internalize stress. So on the outside, I look very reserved, very laid back. But on the inside, my insides is doing a madness.
Yeah.
And what happens is stress shows itself in the form of ailments to me. So then I was having, oh my God, extreme lower back pain. I was getting tension headaches, like real bad, to the point where it just felt like someone had a clamp on my head and was just like tightening it every day. And then I had constant nausea. And I wasn't pregnant.
Oh, wow.
And I had nausea for months and months. So I would keep going back to the doctors and be like, something's wrong with me. And they'd be like, oh, we'll do all these tests. And they'd be like, but you're fine. No, something's wrong with me. Then I go to another doctor. So I spent months doing that. And it got to the point where I was just like, well, I guess this is just my new normal. And I just have to accept it. So I started thinking of ways to just manage it so it's more manageable for me.
Yeah.
So then that's when I got into like holistic wellness, holistic care, stuff like that. So I started getting into juices, essential oils, started working out, going to the gym.
Yeah.
And my stress alleviated. And when my stress alleviated, when I tell you those symptoms that I had for nearly a year, overnight just disappeared. Like I woke up one day, no headache, no lower back pain, no nausea. I was like, hold on a second. What's going on? Yeah. I was like, what's going on here? And then ever since that point, if I smell a hint of stress, I am gone.
Yeah.
Because I cannot risk my health. I cannot risk my health based on any type of stress. I'm not here for that. Sorry. So as soon as I start feeling it, I'm like, okay, off to the spa I go. Okay, massage. Yep. So it's not even a thing of like, oh, it's something that I feel like, no, it's a necessity for me in order for me to function.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So
and it's so interesting because I had Dr. Ya, she came and spoke on the podcast a few weeks ago, and she mentioned it, and I've also seen myself. There's been quite a few studies recently showing that a lot of Black women are developing autoimmune diseases and things like that, all related to stress and internalizing stress. So as soon as you said that, it's like, that is definitely something we need to take more seriously, especially as Black women, mothers, business owners, etc., even, corporate, not internalizing the stress and finding a way to lay it out. Yeah. An outlet, whether that's journaling, speaking, just taking care of yourself, isolating yourself, doing all the self-care things. It's really important. And I think it's something that we need to vocalize a lot more as well. So
I think you're right, because having an outlet is key. Yeah. Find the outlet for you and find a way that stress can escape. Yeah. And also figure out the kind of what the little things, how can I explain it? Like, figure out maybe how your body responds when the stress is starting and coming up, rather than when it gets really, really bad. So if you know that, okay, when I'm stressed, I start to get irritable. If you know that's level number 1, then you know already, okay, cool, maybe I need to take magnesium, maybe I need to take a supplement, maybe I need to. So you're kind of like tackling it before it gets, before it gets really, really bad. And I guess for me now, the older I get, I'm learning how to track the way that I am more. Like the way I respond to certain things, or so if I know those things happen, I know, okay, I'm probably going to be irritable now, or I'm probably going to be whatever that thing is. It's just learning your body.
Yeah, learning your body. What your triggers are.
100%. So important. And it's weird. I feel like I know myself a lot better now. And I know that a lot of a lot of the way I think is down to my mindset.
Yeah.
I've realized how important mindset is, and that just a simple shift or a change in your mindset can really change your whole perspective on stuff. And I try and teach my son about that all the time. Like, you know, it's a mindset thing with a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, this has been so interesting, so insightful. And I'm just happy that you're at a stage now where you know what works for you, how to minimize stress for yourself, and you're learning, you know, what triggers you and when to step in and advocate for yourself.
Exactly.
Because it's still advocating for yourself, even if it's you telling yourself, you need to stop.
No, you're right. It's true. It's true. So like the internal monologue I have with myself sometimes, I'm just like, yeah, it has to be done, because I feel like I coach myself. And managing my emotions as well, like emotional regulation is also something I've learned like in my 30s. And I wish I had those tools in my 20s, because it really does make a difference.
It does, yeah.
Because sometimes like when you realize like life is ebb and flow, it's literally like this. So if you're at that low point, you know that there's an up coming. You just have to ride that low point out. And when you have certain tools to help you do that, it does make things seem a little less bleak. Yeah. That's what I would say.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I'm so sad we have to wrap up.
I know. And I'm a yapper too. I could have kept on going.
We have to have you back for a part 2.
Yes. Yeah, no, definitely.
I'm loving the whole emotions and regulating yourself and your stress and all of that. So definitely.
No, I'll be back. Just let me know when.
Perfect. In one sentence, what does self-care mean to you?
Self-care means to me, if it doesn't bring you peace, or how can I phrase this? If it doesn't bring you peace, then throw it in the bin, basically. And it's okay to prioritize yourself. So I would say self-care to me is being comfortable with knowing that you come first sometimes. And that's okay. Like there's no guilt in that area. And whatever you need to be your best self, just do.
Yeah,
basically.
Perfect. That's beautiful. I love that. You've had a really stressful day in the office. You get home. What is the first thing you're doing to relax?
I'm running myself a hot bath with my favorite essential oils. I'm lighting my scented candles.
What are your favorite oils?
I love patchouli. I love lavender, peppermint, and those are my main ones, actually. And I'm lighting my scented candles and switching off the light. And I'm just going to sit in that bath. I'm going to add my Epsom salts and anything else that I want to add. And I'm just going to sit there, put my favorite playlist on and just chill.
What type of music?
R&B, but late 90s, early 2000s R&B. I'm very specific.
I just go naughty's R&B playlist.
Listen, I'm very specific. I have to, I don't know. It's just that era of R&B is just different. Yeah. And it does something for me. So I'm just like, okay, so I'll put that on and just like instant stress relief. So that's what I do. It. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds like a bit of me. Perfect. Thank you so much.
No worries.
What is a final takeaway you want to leave the audience, your mantra for life?
I think a final takeaway would be believe in yourself. Definitely. Yeah. I think that self-belief is so important. One thing I've realized on this journey is that having the confidence, the audacity, and a good network will carry you a lot further than you think. Sometimes it'll carry you even further than hard work, if I'm being real. So yeah, don't doubt yourself, because at the end of the day, you need to be your biggest cheerleader. Yeah. Because if you're not going to do it, who's going to do it? You know? So yeah, that's what I would say.
Oh, perfect. Such a beautiful way to round off the episode. I love it. Thank you so much for coming down. Like I said, we definitely need to do a part 2.
Yes, we do. Yeah,
to get into more things. Can you please let our audience know where they can find you online?
So you can find me on Instagram. It's Yomi O, and you can also find me on TikTok. It's Yomi O, but with 2 S's. And you can find the Wig Bar London on Instagram, and we have a website, and it's www.thewigbarlondon.com.
Perfect. We'll have everything linked below so you guys can check out Yomi and the Wig Bar London for all your wig care needs. Perfect. Thank you so much again. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Let us know in the comment section below what bit stood out to you the most. We'd love to keep the conversation going. If you've got this far and you've not subscribed, this is the time to subscribe to the channel. For more episodes, we upload every single Sunday, and please like and share the episode to reach more people. Yeah, that's about it for this episode today.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed our conversation.
I'm so glad. Yomi will be back very soon, honestly.
I will.
Yeah, but that is about it. Take care, stay blessed, and enjoy the rest of your day.
See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.